gives me a leeway to talk to you about how we are prepared for the natural disasters or the man-made disasters in our area. We very much need to be very prepared to handle it. And just like Superstorm Sandy, the local emergency resources are overwhelmed very quickly. Very quickly. A lot of the things that we're reading now is, how the emergency service workers had to, while their houses were flooded and being damaged, they were out there working, and the difficulties in being out there doing your emergency work and still worried about your own family too. But we say this to say we need to really prepare our community, and to prepare our community, this is a program that we have, and we're inviting everyone from the community to come, sign up, and allow us to train. We need people in all our neighborhoods, not just on the rich side of town, but in all of our neighborhoods, to come out, learn how to respond and help their neighbors during an emergency. The things that we train our citizens in, sir, is we train them in disaster preparedness. How do you handle we shelter training? So we need citizens to go to shelter so that the area that's affected, when we move these people out of the area that's affected, we send them to a shelter, like our different community centers around town. Who receives them? How do we start the documentation so that when we do ask for federal funds and other things to help, our paperwork has to be in line. So our team members would be the personnel that we would have at these community centers and these other shelters ready to help the citizen that's in distress fill out the paperwork, help the citizen that's in distress, give them simple food they can take to their family. Simple things like toothbrush, soap, and other things that you could help your citizens, your fellow citizens with while they're in a time of need, while their home is being torn down or flooded. And so it's important. We teach them fire safety. We teach them basic disaster medical operations. We're not trying to make you an EMT or a paramedic, but there are some basic first aid things that we will teach you, some CPR, basic first aid, that you can render some assistance to your fellow neighbor until the fire department gets there, or to some EMS service to get to you. We teach you some search and rescue things. And I'm not talking about, that doesn't mean that you got to be super in shape fella or person so that you can go climbing through a building. But we may have people that just walk through the street so we can figure out who's missing. In your neighborhood watch or your neighborhood meeting, you may have a person who lives in this house, who belongs in this house. So when the authorities get there and we're looking for, you can say, we haven't heard from this person yet. We haven't heard from that person yet. And so we'll know exactly which houses we need to try to search. And so these things we need to set in place way ahead of time before we get hit with something like a superstorm Sandy or any other kind of man-made accident that we may have. Often people don't realize that 50% of all of the hazardous materials produced in the state of Georgia are produced in Richland County. We have a lot of flags, and we enjoy them because they employ a lot of people. But we create a lot of hazardous material. If any county needs to be prepared to handle a hazardous incident, it needs to be our county. Now, I have met and had some different meetings with some of the industry, and I must say, our industry has super safety record. I mean, they follow the safety rules to the T. But in case there is an accident, are we prepared to respond? Or do we continue to do like we've had, just keep driving down the road, knowing that so-and-so going to work, or think that that's somebody else's responsibility? The thing is when the emergency comes, it's going to become your responsibility. because it does not take long for our resources to get overwhelmed. They get overwhelmed now when we get bad storms. We get flooding on the east end of town, trees down on the west end of town, and a bad rainstorm. And I'm sending fire apparatus everywhere. And so then people start getting some delayed response time because our resources are overwhelmed.
A production of Benny Balimbara.
HannibalShow.com